Hello, hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of Teach Jenn Tech. And we apparently have like the green crew here right now because you're wearing green, I'm wearing green. Also, your mic was green at the moment. I love those color changing ones. And yes, we are here for another episode with our guest, Josh, and he's going to be teaching us foundations of TypeScript. So I'm going to give this another shot. So many people reached out about the other episode and was like, Jen, don't give up on TypeScript. Like, I don't know. I kind of want to. So, Josh, please introduce yourself and a bit more about what we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely. Hey, everyone. Excited to be here. Thanks, Jen, for having me on. My name is Josh Goldberg. I'm a full-time open source maintainer in the TypeScript ecosystem. That means instead of working for a company and making real money like a good tech person, I work on shared open source tools and beg for money on the internet. So if you might have seen me floating around, sometimes I contribute to TypeScript itself. Sometimes I contribute to random other projects. Most notably, I work on TypeScript ESLint, which is the tooling that lets you run ESLint on TypeScript code. So I really care about people learning TypeScript, which is incidentally the name of the book that I wrote to teach TypeScript. And I'm excited for Jen to give a second attempt here for TypeScript. And I actually really respect that you're ready, willing, and able to do that so quickly. I think most people with most tech, it can take them a time or two or three to learn it. And sometimes you just got to keep powering through until you find an nth strategy iteration that works for you.
It's not always my favorite, and I appreciate that you do say that, but a lot of it is me being very, very stubborn as well. And yes, shout out to Ben connecting us. And hi, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
It's I would say something that I really, really appreciate about the like the tech world is that that's how I met like so many amazing humans and built a community. So I'm very grateful for that. And I am slowly going to be adding all your info into Twitch very slowly because it says you cannot post over the $500 character limit. It can be $500. Come on, if we get enough subscriptions for that, $500, that would work. Awesome. Well, yay. And yes, Ben is actually the one that was like, yo, here's somebody that can reteach you or teach you more about TypeScript. And that is the world of networking. I know I talk about that a lot, but networking is your friend, even though learning all the tech and things. Okay, what is your background?
So I'm moving to Philadelphia from Brooklyn on Thursday, which is why it's this like dilapidated, half dead wall. But this is a poster. Oh, I'm terrible with. This is a poster that was drawn by Frankie O'Connor, the Halo community lead. I won it at a charity auction a few years back, and it is a Mr. Chief poster, which is like a parody of Master Chief from Halo that he's done a bunch of, superimposed on a Marathon poster, which is Marathon is one of the game series Bungie made before Halo. So it's a deep cut mixed with a slightly deeper cut. Yeah.
I dig it. And that is, I love the idea of how it's like the options of art in the world, but like there's so much that we could unpack there in video games. And that's a conversation for another day because I have to remind myself to not completely derail all the time. So,
it's hard.
How do you become an open source, full-time open sourcer?
That's a great question.
Is that a term? Like, what do you call yourself again?
I call myself open source maintainer, but I don't know that that's the easiest set of words to regurgitate quickly. I like open sourcer. I've seen open sourcerer out there.
Ooh, I like that one.
That could be me. I'd say it's not something that is easy to dive into at the very beginning of your career. I just happened to do a lot of open source stuff more and more over time, where at first I would publish a project or two. I had one that went viral, and for a brief period of time had attention and then stopped. Then I just kept doing work in random open source libraries until earlier this year, really late last year, I realized what I was really passionate about. The tooling that I want to work on is all open source. I wanted to work on TypeScript ESLint and my libraries that do other static analysis for TypeScript and TypeScript itself. So I've accumulated enough money and I have a spouse with health insurance, so I can make that risky jump and just do open source full time. Yay.
That is very cool. And okay, to unpack this just a little bit, but also to quiz myself. So open source is technically open source software, but everybody says open source, but if you type it, it's normally OSS. And open source means that anybody can contribute to it and anyone can use the code elsewhere as well.
That's right. Okay. Technically, there's also open source hardware. Like you might have hardware schematics, like 3D printing stuff that's open source. So that's why people kind of use the terms interchangeably. But yeah, I personally just deal with open source software, which is, stuff that anyone can look at, anyone can send suggestions over to, and anyone can use.
Dope. And then also, if we talk about linting is how how something will go through and find errors or like set an idea of like, hey, this is how something's going to be done. So kind of like a spell checker.
Yeah. The analogy I like to use is that in traditional JavaScript land, there's nothing that tells you whether your stuff is working until you run it. So yeah, a spell checker, the little like blue or green or whatever, red squigglies in Word, that's a good analogy for something that looks at your code, doesn't actually run it, it doesn't say it out loud, but it just knows, hey, this is probably a mistake here. Yep.
Dope. And then before I start sharing my screen and going through all of that, I do want to put some stuff on screen with this is where to, down there is where to follow Josh. Also, go check out the book, and that's where to follow on Twitter as well. And then we are And then we are using a plugin that I didn't know existed. So I wanted to share the knowledge here of that it can share. It's live share. I'm like, dude, this is cool. And I'm still in VS Code. So that gets everyone caught up and share my screen. And please definitely share any questions that you have while we're doing this too. I don't know if the chat will make it too small for everything. Wow. But well, oh, that's a little too big. Okay. Is that easy enough to see? Everybody?
See
Sweet.
I don't know about
we'll see if anybody else.
Looks good to me.
Dope. All right. So please talk us through what you have magically set up for us.
All right. So let's start from scratch, actually. Suppose you have a variable. On the left is the source file that we're going to be working with. And what I want to show here first is writing code in TypeScript and that it gets compiled to JavaScript. The first thing you got to understand about TypeScript is that it is a language a lot like JavaScript. So instead of having JS files, you have TS files, but they're basically equivalent to the JS files you would have written in JavaScript. I have in my terminal, you can ignore the errors. I have in my terminal tsc-w running, which is a TypeScript compiler. And that takes files that end in TS and turn them into the equivalent JS file. And as you may have noticed, the let my name equals Jenn variable on the left looks the same as the let my name equals Jenn variable on the right. And as we go through TypeScript things, we're going to add features and see places where TypeScript can like fix and find issues for us. But the really core concept is that you're writing code that looks a lot like JavaScript and behaves basically the same as it would in JavaScript. Does that make sense and seem reasonable so far?
Yes. And just to like double check. So first off, it will not auto translate to JavaScript. It's because you used something in your terminal to auto
yes.
to auto share. And then we just got a question as well, so I'm going to interrupt myself. Just looked you up. Question in your course: do you teach bracket generics?
Yes, that's a feature. I don't think we'll have time in the stream today to go into it, but yeah, in the book I do have a whole chapter on generics. It's my least favorite one, but it's also a
But
good chapter.
we'll need Josh to come back on. So we'll just bug him for that and get him back on the show again. It's my hope. So everybody
Perfect.
ask lots of questions, play nice. You know, that I'm more saying that to myself. So don't scare anybody away. Okay, so that's how we're translating it over to TypeScript to JavaScript. And then I'm trying to think of like a really good comparison, and my grandmother is coming to mind of TypeScript versus JavaScript. Of if in back in the day, anyone that was a secretary had to create shorthand, which looked kind of crazy, did the same thing. It was because they had to take notes so quickly because transcription didn't really exist back then. But it technically was the same information. It was just in a very, very short version of it to make it easier to take notes and still make everything as pretty. Is that kind of like a good way of comparing these?
You know what? It is a good analogy, except for one thing. TypeScript code is a superset of JavaScript code, meaning it is. I think that was on the last stream too. That term TypeScript, the language includes all the stuff in JavaScript, the exact same as JavaScript, along with other
Okay.
things. So It's a good analogy in that, yeah, like they mean the same thing, they just look differently.
Mm-hmm.
My one gripe there is that it's kind of the other way. It's that like
Oh.
the TypeScript code will have more stuff than the JavaScript, and the only difference between the TS and the JS is that anything like TypeScript developer time specific gets removed when it gets turned into JavaScript. So maybe another analogy would be like TypeScript would be like if you're writing an essay and you have a lot of notes from like a proofreader in there, like a little arrow here, like, hey, this word looks bad, or hey, that's a really good sentence there. But then when you turn that into the output PDF, all those little like side arrow things get removed and it just looks like the words itself. Does that feel like an equivalent analogy to you?
It does. I think and I don't know if I asked this in the last stream as well as straight up asked you, why would somebody use TypeScript compared to JavaScript?
Ooh, great question. Let's look at variables.
Okay.
So here, I'm just gonna close if I do something on my end and just okay. So let's say that you have this my name variable. TypeScript keeps track of the types of all your values, of all your things. If you were to hover your mouse, and actually, could you please hover your mouse over the variable my name in your TypeScript file? Yeah, TypeScript sees that it's type string because its initial value is Jen. So later on, if you do my name equals Josh, that's allowed because Josh, the string, is a string. But if you were to do like my name equals undefined, TypeScript would yell at you. And if you hover your mouse over the my name that has the red squiggly, it would complain that, hey, you initially set up the variable as string, but now you're trying to give it undefined. That's not allowed. So TypeScript keeps track of the types of all your things and yells at you if you put something in a place that doesn't match the type, which can be really useful if you have code that expects, say, a variable to be a string and not undefined. Well, how does that feel?
Very simple and complicated at the same time, which is like all of tech. So I'm going to say cool and let's keep moving because it'll probably click later on.
Okay. TypeScript is one of those things where it really is most beneficial when you have a few files or more in a project. If you have just one file and it's like this little node script you're writing for fun or something, maybe don't use TypeScript. But if you have, say, a whole bunch of functions and objects and classes and stuff all working together, it's really nice having TypeScript tell you what everything is expected to be, because then as you change stuff, it'll let you know what you need to update to account for the new shapes.
Okay.
Yeah, we can keep going. But does that kind of context make
Yeah.
sense and seem reasonable so far?
Yes. Thank you.
Cool. So the first concept that we'll see that's TypeScript specific is the concept of a type annotation. I'm just going to comment these things out and keep going. So my name delayed. This is a variable, and we don't know what's supposed to go in it. We could give it a name. We could give it a Boolean false. This is all allowed. So TypeScript lets you say on your variables, if they don't have an initial value, I will later assign a particular value type to them. Later on, I'm only ever going to put a string in this container, which means that line 3, name delayed is Josh, is allowed, but assigning false is not allowed because, well, you said it would be a string, and a string is not a Boolean. Make sense so far?
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. So there are three things that I want to call out here. One is that this is why I asked you to have a JS file open on the right at the same time. That :string does not get pooped out to your output JavaScript. It's just a TypeScript thing. So if you were to try to copy and paste the TypeScript code in the browser, it wouldn't work because JavaScript has no idea what a type annotation is.
Got it. Okay.
That's what we mean when we say it's a superset, that it's JavaScript plus things like type annotations. But if you turn it into JavaScript, those type annotations get removed.
And the reason that we would want to do it with a type annotation is because it will help define it as a string and not do, but we could still do multiple strings like my name delayed could be Jen. Yeah. Okay. It's starting to make sense. But if we left it undefined, there we go. That's the word. Then it could have been anything.
The type terminology would be something like untyped or implicitly typed. But the technical term for this specific scenario is actually the perhaps slightly convoluted name, evolving any, meaning the variable starts off as the type any, which means any type in the universe. I have no idea what it is. That's the TypeScript term. And then later on, as you assign values to it, TypeScript will know what type it is. Like if you were to hover over it on line 8, TypeScript would know that it's type string. If you were to hover over it on line 12, it would know that it's type Boolean. So it's an evolving initially any variable.
What? Okay.
TypeScript is smart.
Okay. Okay.
Cool.
That's what I'm going with. Anybody in the, the beautiful humans watching and listening have questions? And also, hi, homie.
Hi, homie Hoder.
Yeah. And Simple Sphere, definitely let us know if you have questions, because I may not know the questions to ask. So if anything comes up, please let us know. Oh, look, it's Anthony. What up, Anthony? We were talking about you before we went live. Just as a heads up. We kind of were talking about a lot of you, actually. Ben, we were talking about you. Homie, we weren't talking about you, but I talk about you a lot. So I get excited when it's like return people because I'm like, yay, we're making a crew. We got the beautiful human crew. That's like everyone in the world, but we're slowly building out this crew.
The cream of the crop, the best of the best.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So, we got one from Anthony. How many types could a TypeScript type if a TypeScript could type scripts? Wow. Thank you.
Even if
a
TypeScript could type scripts, a TypeScript could type all the scripts that a TypeScript could type, but a TypeScript can't type scripts. I think that's the canonical answer to that question.
Ooh.
Or I like Ben's answer too.
Yeah. Ben said 12. Maybe 42. Who knows? Okay, dope. So this is definitely making a bit more sense now that we've used that. But where do we end up moving from here?
I want to actually make that a little bit up to you and confirm with you. My guess, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is that you're starting to see like how the type system works. Like TypeScript knows what types things
Mhm.
are. You can say what type something is, and if you add a different type, it yells at you. But this isn't looking super useful yet. Like we haven't shown any bugs that would be caught. It's just, okay, I guess we can do that. Why would you bother? Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think just like knowing, like seeing something that even if it may not make sense yet, like where you would use it, but like actually seeing how something may be made with it other than just like hello world.
Sure. The canonical like first thing that a lot of people do with TypeScript is a greeter function, which takes in, let's say, a name, and then we'll like log hello name. Like in a lot of the older TypeScript examples, they used to use like greeter functions and greeter classes. So let's say we want to, who do you want to greet? Give me a name.
Beautiful human.
Beautiful human. Awesome. Uh, so right now, I have a TypeScript setting enabled called no implicit any, which says you have to give me a type on anything that I wouldn't immediately be able to tell the type of. So just looking at the code, we're going to have to give a type to name, the parameter. So just off the top of your head, what would you guess the type for name to be? Like what would I put after the colon space?
String.
Yeah, awesome. Just checking. That is correct. So let's say that we refactor this function. Let's say that instead of calling it greeter, which takes in a name string, we instead take in first name string, and then I'll split this across lines, then last name string. Now TypeScript is yelling at us because we've refactored our code, we've changed it, but not all the callers of that code are updated. Specifically, two places are complaining. One is that your console log still refers to name, which interestingly actually is a global variable that exists, but is deprecated. So on my screen, it has a strike through on it, and I don't know why on yours it doesn't.
It has the dots. Let's see.
Oh, there we go.
It is. Okay.
All right.
And then this one, oh, no, go back.
There we go. So that's a TypeScript complaint. TypeScript is yelling at you, expected two arguments, but got what? So you can imagine if you have a function that's used in a lot of places and you change the function signature, meaning what it's called with and or what it returns, it would be real nice to know all the places that complain. So in this case, you can change it by, let's say, first name beautiful, last name human. And then first name, last name. Does that make sense? Seem reasonable so far?
Yes.
Cool. And also just want to emphasize on the right, it's the same code except no colon space string is anywhere in the JavaScript because that is a TypeScript thing.
Right.
I can see the wheels churning in your head. How does this feel?
It's making enough sense, something that I've realized from the very beginning. And I'm pretty sure Anthony has probably yelled at me to do, but I'm finally going to do it, is like creating shorter videos of like understanding it and redoing it myself, because like at the moment it makes sense, yet in like the big picture of things, not 100%, but it makes enough sense to follow along.
Okay, cool. I want to bring up then a few topics that build on this, and then we'll also introduce something called a union type, which sounds weird and different, but is actually like really applicable and cool in programming.
Yay.
So I'm going to make a variable let greeted, and then let's say that like instead of greeter console logging the message, it like const message equals, it creates the message, and then just also, let's say, returns the message in addition to console logging it. TypeScript then knows that this greeted variable is type string. But we never actually explicitly told TypeScript anywhere that the function returns string and then this variable is type string. TypeScript just knows this function happens to return string and knows that by reading the contents of the function and seeing the return message. And then greeted as a variable whose value starts off as the result of that function. So if you were to hover on line 10 over the name greeted, you again would see greeted string. Does it make sense that TypeScript would be able to figure that out and that would be like a reasonable understanding?
Is greeter a normal function? Therefore, that's why it's able to read it? Or if I said, like, is there another function we could use to replace greeter for another example for greeter and greeted?
Sure. Let's say you wanted to do like let very greeted or like name upper equals Jen dot to uppercase. TypeScript knows that to uppercase on a string is a string method that returns a string. So the variable name upper would then be type string, even though you've never
Okay.
explicitly said, I must put a string here. TypeScript just reads your code and understands.
Got it. And then Ben said, in really big projects, you'll often find yourself exporting files from one file and importing them and using them in other files. Because of that, you'll often have less visibility whenever the function signature changes. So this kind of red squigglification is really good for seeing how changes propagate throughout the code base so you don't miss any places you need to fix it, and then should be exporting functions from one file. So is TypeScript more helpful also in like classes and that type of thing then?
Ooh. Side note, I like red squigglification as a term. That's a really
I do
good,
too.
yeah.
I feel like we just need to keep that forever. Red squigglification. See if I can
Red
even say it.
squigglification. It's a good one.
Yes, definitely.
I won't say that TypeScript is more helpful when you have classes. I would say TypeScript is similarly or also helpful when you have a lot of classes. TypeScript doesn't care if you're using like traditional object-oriented programming or a lot of classes, or if you're functional and use a lot of functions. It does the same logic no matter what. Classes, it
Okay.
lets you define what the members are supposed to be and what the methods are supposed to take in and return. Same thing with functions. You can say what their parameters are supposed to take in and be, and then you can also say what types variables are in both worlds. So either way, TypeScript red squigglifies whenever you mess up.
Got it. Okay. And hello, Barney. How's it going? Thank you for joining. And let us know when you have questions. It's sinking in. It's sinking in.
Okay.
It's getting there. It's getting there.
Cool. Let me show you a function then that just copy all or comment all this. Let me show you a function that has an optional parameter. Function greets name maybe, which takes in a full name that's supposed to be a string. Hello, full name dot to uppercase. Now, what if you're supposed to change this later on? Like, say it worked well for a while, but then later on, we're refactoring it where you're supposed to be able to call it with undefined. Suppose this is intentional. Like maybe this is supposed to, I don't know, to do different behavior if full name isn't provided. Well, per the red squigglification, TypeScript is now mad at us because we expected one argument and got 0. So there's a way in TypeScript lands. Oh yes, thank you. There's a way in TypeScript lands to mark a parameter as optional, and that is to put a question mark before the colon for the parameter. That says, I might not provide it, but if I do, I should provide it as a string. But now we have a complaint here from TypeScript because we have said that full name.toUppercase is going to happen, but full name might not exist. So could you actually do me a favor and hover over the full name that's got the red squiggly on there? Yeah. TypeScript is yelling at us, rightfully so, because it sees that we are calling a method on a value that might not be defined. It might be undefined. So this is the concept of a union type. The full name parameter inside the function is either a string or undefined. And if you were to hover your mouse over it, you would get the colon space string or undefined, which you saw when you were hovering over there. A union type is an either or. It's either of those possible things. And TypeScript knows that if you call a method on a union type that includes, say, undefined, that might cause a crash because it might be undefined. Yay.
Okay. And okay.
Does that seem reasonable so far? You look happy.
Yes. It's clicking more. It is clicking more. Yay.
Awesome.
And what up, Bakari?
Hello. Hello, world. One of the ways you can work around union types giving you complaints is by fixing the code. This code is legitimately broken. If you were to run this file, you would get a crash. You would something like 2 uppercase of undefined or some complaint. So what you can do is you can introduce logic in your code. Let's say if full name, otherwise do phone who this or something. Now notice that here TypeScript is no longer complaining. Before the if statements, the if block, whatever you want to call it, full name is type string or undefined, but inside it's just type string. And this is because TypeScript is smart. It reads your code and it knows this if statement, if block, whatever, that starts on line 4 is only going to get run, the contents are only happening if full name is defined, if it's truthy, which means there's no way that line 7 could crash because full name is definitely string and not undefined. We have narrowed the type, that's the key word, type narrowing, to be just string. How does that feel?
It's sinking in. It is sinking in. Like, it's sinking in. And full names in this function. Okay.
I would +1 that. Like, hover your mouse over where full name is and see that inside the if it is string and then outside it's string or undefined. TypeScript has evolved a better understanding of the type. It's narrowed it down.
Okay.
And actually, if you hover inside the else statement, it would say string or undefined because that else still happens even if it's undefined or if it's the blank string. Fun fact, I actually have a pending pull request, an issue open against TypeScript so that it would say blank string or undefined in the else because that's technically more accurate, that those are the only 2 values it could be. But it's blocked on, well, we don't know why this would actually be useful to anyone. So if you have any bugs in your head that you can think of, let me know. But otherwise,
sweet.
Still works.
Thank you. Okay.
So that's a union type and type narrowing and optional function parameter all rolled into one example. And I will tell you that I have seen and caught legitimate production bugs in code when converting to TypeScript on this exact type of thing, where people assume that something is always going to be defined, but actually they sometimes provide like null or undefined. And this is so common in industry that it's actually got a term. This is what's called the $1 billion mistake. It's coined. Have you ever heard of this thing?
No.
Oh my God, I love it. It was coined by Tony. I don't know how to say his last name exactly. Hoare. Someone from like the early days of, I forget if it's C or C++ or what. But the idea that you can provide a null value to something that's supposed to be taking in like a real thing has caused so much pain and bugs in the industry that he thinks it's been over $1 billion of damage. So TypeScript actually solves the $1 billion mistake. It doesn't let you provide undefined where you expect something like a string.
Okay. Yes. Maybe. Yes. We do have a question. Why to put full name in line 2? And it's to call the full name in the above string, right? It's so that way it asks for this.
I just put it there so that it's somewhere you can hover your mouse over. They don't actually do anything. We could comment them out and it wouldn't change anything.
Good question, Barry.
Good question.
Glad you asked. Yay.
Okay.
Oh. Now I'm going to do it to the rest of it. Just so it'll still work if we get rid of all of these.
Yes.
Oh.
I apologize for not explicitly calling that out. They don't do anything.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. Yay.
Okay. Yay. So there are kind of 3 topics that I think are like the crucial important thing for understanding TypeScript. One is that it's a superset of JavaScript, that what you're working with here is JavaScript with like a little extra stuff added on. But when you compile it down to something that gets run on your actual app, it's just the JavaScript contents. The second thing is the concept of type checking, that TypeScript knows what types things are, and it can form things called union types when something could be more than one value, which then lets it know to tell you to narrow it down before calling it as just one of the values. Do those kind of make sense and seem reasonable so far?
Yes. Cool. Yes.
Ooh, I like this also. Ben is a treasure trove of good phrases.
Yes.
JavaScript with seasoning.
All right.
Awesome.
Is this when things get spicy?
This is when things get spicy. More seasoned developers use it. The third concept is the concept of an interface or a type, an object type. Let's say that you have a let my value or my poet. I shamelessly copy and pasted from my book. In my book, each chapter is like a different theme of things people do.
Perfect.
So let's say you have a poet and the poet's shape is, actually, I'm just going to copy a full variable, is this. TypeScript can then not just tell you when things are wrong, but also give you utilities in development time because it knows things about your code. For example, it knows that poet dot can only be completed with born and name. And actually, can I ask you to type out poet dot on a line so that we can see on your screen the suggestions that it comes up with? There you go. So this is another answer to why is TypeScript useful, because TypeScript can help you develop. TypeScript knows that it just has born and name. Voila.
Okay.
Was that your next curiosity of does born have other things on it that TypeScript would know?
Or how, and this may be me not knowing JavaScript enough too, how would you put both there if you would just put poet? Never mind. I answered my own question. That's exciting, at least. Okay, that does make sense.
Cool. And actually, I liked what you were doing before. Could you click or type period again? Yeah, so TypeScript knows what exists on, say, numbers. Born is a number, born is 1935. So it knows that numbers just have these methods, most of which I have never used in my actual code. But like toFixed is a thing you can do on numbers. Fun fact. And if you do poet.name, it'll know that name has like 2 uppercase to lowercase trim and so on.
There's a lot of options here.
Yeah. Fun fact, JavaScript strings actually have a lot of features, including things that turn them into HTML or like return an HTML version of them.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yay.
Awesome. Do me another favor, though. Can you right-click on name on line 7?
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. And in the middle of that menu where it says rename symbol, click that. And call it whatever you want, something other than name. And when you're done, hit enter.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah. And notice it did it in 2 places. It did it on the poet variable on line 3 and on line 7.
Now I want to go try it here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we don't need... Okay, that works too. Look at you being fancy. So if could I rename symbol?
Full Jen.
I was gonna do it. I really was. But I figured I shouldn't do that. Yay. Okay, that's actually really cool. And you can't do that in JavaScript.
Um, you The thing that lets you do that is TypeScript. TypeScript reads in your TypeScript files and like understands things. It understands where they're used, where they're declared. And actually, you can do it in JavaScript in like editors like VS Code, but it's TypeScript powering that. So it's more powerful and more reliable when you do it on TypeScript files, but to a limited extent, you can do it in JavaScript.
Interesting. Okay, I feel like this alone, it gets me way more excited about TypeScript.
Yay. Yeah,
Like this one feature.
I think people oftentimes get really hooked into the really cool, powerful things you can do in TypeScript, but the actual benefits of TypeScript that are like important and critical for day-to-day development are that it will find your bugs for you. It'll give you utilities and helpful suggestions when you're writing code, and it enables a lot of really powerful automations from like renaming things or refactoring code. Like I'm gonna do a refactor here. Um, refactor. You can't see it on your screen, but in mine, I just extracted to a function named log thing. That TypeScript just did that for me. Like I selected the line and I selected the refactor new function and it took it in. So yay, TypeScript. The language
Yay.
server, which is the tool that VS Code runs, gives us all these awesome things.
Okay. Very cool. This is exciting. I like it.
Yay, I'm glad.
So, okay. And I feel like this is, and okay, so this is to you and anyone else that builds coding books. I get that a lot of the code you actually have to like read it and then do it on the computer. So not always would make sense as an audible book, but I would really appreciate it as an audible book because that's how I learn is to be able to like hear it and then it helps me like stay along with it. Um, and I know that there are tools that you can actually like have it like read the specific page. I'm very lazy because then I have to wait for every page to go through and click it every minute. Anyway, I'm saying that in the fact that I have not read your book, even though I really want to. Is there an exercise like when we get through done today that you have in the book or that you would suggest as a good practice to follow up on these um, for next time?
Yeah, actually, two notes on that. One, I agree. Although I personally learn best with like long form blog posts and docs and books, like I know a lot of people are video based. So if you want like a good recommendation for someone who has like a video course, I'd say Matt Pocock. I will post that in the chat once I get my Chrome in order. There we go. This
Thank you.
person has like really good content. Is like one of my favorite TypeScript people. Highly recommend. They're awesome. Um,
Yay.
so that's one thing. But yeah, I am also a big believer uh, in hands-on learning. Like I like the long form blog post, but then I also have to do it on my own. Otherwise, it's all
Hmm.
theory and it doesn't stick. So every chapter in Learning TypeScript, the book, ends with a note to go to learningtypescript.com, the website, and do one of the 1 to 3 practice projects on the website. I've got practice projects for every chapter on the book that exercises just what's in that chapter and maybe a little bit of what you've already learned prior to that chapter in the book. And it's all intended for people who may not have any TypeScript experience prior to the book, but do know some foundational JavaScript.
Ta-da!
Yay, that's the thing.
That's the thing. It's actually funny enough when I was going through this, like prepping for our call and stuff, I was like, maybe it's on Amazon or maybe Google Play will like read it to me. I was like, oh, no go. Yet there, I am very excited about this. Yay! There
They're
are the
also
things.
all thematically terrible. I apologize in advance for the themes. Each
No, no,
chapter
no. I
or
really
each
like the
project has a
names.
theme. Yeah.
No, I like these. I really like
Yeah.
these because I feel they're amusing. They are very amusing. And oh, there's a hub. Look at this. I'm also showing this as one thing that I really like about when people set up pages like this is I can still read it, like it's not something that I have to get the physical book for. It's like, okay, cool. I can. Ben and I have looked into screen readers, which as an update, Ben, I have used my screen reader when my text to speech decides to glitch out. So thank you for showing me that. But I'm excited to go through these. Now, do you think we've gone through enough to cover what's in the Typinator?
We do. We have. I do.
Okay.
The Typinator doesn't actually introduce any TypeScript stuff. It just has you refactor things from old JavaScript to modern JavaScript in
Ooh,
preparation
okay.
for getting excited about what TypeScript gives you. I'd say the first TypeScript project is System of a Clown, one of my favorite themes. That one I believe we've pretty much gone over
Okay.
enough of. Yeah. Yeah, we could do that.
Okay. Okay. Because I feel like we have two options, and I want to let the audience pick for us because we do have the time. Yet, should I do a video of doing this and talking us through it just like solo, or should we do it now and hang out with Josh as I stumble through it? Votes for stumbling through it now or video later. Those are your two options, everybody. And Josh, you can have a vote too, because it is your content as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I
You
vote
read my
doing it
mind.
now.
All right. All right.
There are enough projects where you can always stumble through one now and also stumble through one on your own later if you want.
Perfect. Okay. Cool. I like it. I think I get embarrassed and like shy about it because I'm like, I just want to listen to it really quick and nobody else. So I'm just gonna like awkwardly listen. But that's okay. It's fine. It's not very long. System of a Clown. Yes, I'm reading to myself because I don't want to read out loud to all of you, but the link, they have linked it. Thank you, Josh, for linking it. Oh, okay. Oh, look, you made it so easy.
I got you.
Okay.
I will say though, that copy button is a UI bug. It should be like floating off to the right and styled, and I can't figure out why it's so unstyled, but it still works. So
I'm like, I
kind of
thought it
remain.
looked nice, but that could be okay. Uh Hey, Anthony, are you still here? Because I just realized I think I have everything for the most part reinstalled on my computer, but I don't know if I do. Which, well, do I have Node and everything reinstalled? Did I ever do that? Like when we did? So for everyone that wasn't there for this very random day, I had to hard reset my laptop, and Anthony and I were reinstalling stuff. Okay, I'll look really quick. Oh, I don't
The
have
most
Node.
annoying thing to have to go through and reinstall everything. My condolences.
Is this still gonna work without Node?
Yeah, it should work.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll just have to do everything through VS Code, but you'll get the squiggles, the red squigglies if you mess up, or you'll have the red squigglies in places that need to be fixed. So that should all work.
Okay. But I can still like download it and everything, right? Through Git. I think so.
Yes.
What?
Did it not? What?
Oh,
Did it not
I don't know
copy?
if it copied and I put red. No, it did red squigglification.
That's unfortunate. Well, you only need to run the first two lines, I guess. Which you can just copy manually, I guess. That's
Yeah.
upsetting to me.
Well, it was also pasting red squigglyfication.
Yeah, here I'm gonna file a bug in my site. See, this is useful for me because now I'm just doing user research at this point. My next question will be on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend this to a friend? And similar.
To everyone. Okay, change your terminal directory. Oh, totally did it wrong. And the fact that I skipped a step that I thought I didn't do npmi.
You don't have to do npmi. That's okay. You can just open this in VS Code and it should be fine. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Like, it would be nice to have those things running, but you don't need it. I can just walk you through it now.
Okay. So let's see if code works. What?
Do not have code?
Where did my VS Code go? Did I close it? I don't think I closed it. No. We might be back to where I was a while ago. This is fun.
Yay.
Yes, trust.
Yay.
Okay. We have the project. And all right. Steps. Notes. Don't import code from one step into another. Okay. So we got this here. And let me make these bigger, and then I will, everybody should have the link to follow along as well. It was scrolling to steps. That's where we're at. First area of code you'll need to fix is the activity engine. Repeatedly creates groups of 5 to 10 guests. Each group is directed to go to an activity which can hold a certain number of them at the time. It looks like the clowns didn't change too much on this one. They mostly just removed a few type annotations and changed one value. Could you please add back missing type annotations, avoid implicit any, and fix the wrong value? Okay, so fix the code here and then solution code. So I need to go find the code to fix. I'm guessing is this one?
Yep.
Wait, come back. Come back. So, okay. I don't. Yeah. So yesterday was with Laura about Python, and she's a previous teacher as well. And she loves to watch me struggle through these two. It's my love-hate relationship with teachers, because of course this is when I'm going to learn, but I'm definitely going to second guess myself on all of it.
Sure. So what interaction mode are you looking for here? My default is to just be quiet until you yell at me that this is not making sense. Would you like me to be a little more proactive and like give hints?
No. I'm also thinking that it can't be applied to types, number, and string, which makes me think it can only be one or the other. So I'm just gonna struggle along and see what happens.
Can I suggest going to where capacity is declared and seeing what it is? Which, fun fact, you can do by right-clicking on it and then selecting Go to Definition, or command-clicking on your Mac.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, and I do something string. Equal string? Is it equal string?
This is, if you'd gone through like npm install, I think you might be getting squigglies indicating, yeah, these lines 6 through 8 are where I would suggest starting. Like what types do you think each of these variables are supposed to be?
Numbers. 3. Because we have a new comment coming in. Hi, by using TS, please don't use any.
Yeah, in
Well,
general, in TypeScript, you don't want to use any. You want to have more specific types. Sometimes they're like weird edge cases with wacky logic where it's hard to avoid any. But for the most part, yeah, it's better to have actual types, not the YOLO, I don't know what I'm doing, any type. But yeah, I liked what you said before. I think capacity being a number is totally reasonable. And the syntax you're looking for is colon space number, saying eventually this will have a value, and eventually that value will be number.
oh. That one? No.
Yes. Yep. But you added a semicolon instead of a colon.
Oh, that would help, right?
Yay!
Which means these need to be fixed into numbers.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yay!
Was that it?
That's it. That is 1 of 3 variables, and
Yay!
that was the most complex one. You did it. How do you feel?
Okay. Excited, because this one I think would be string.
Yep.
And I don't know what the Boolean is. It called Boolean?
Yeah, it's Boolean. In the book, it mentions there's number, string, Boolean, null, undefined, big int, symbol, and maybe that's all of them. Those are the primitive types in JavaScript, and thus also TypeScript. And yeah, I think that's the solution. I think you fixed the thing.
Okay, let's compare. I can just go double click. Side by side. Oh, yay. Oh, wait,
Looks good to
this
me.
is mine. Other than my semicolons.
Which don't
Bye,
matter
Ben.
at all.
Do they matter in, I don't know. I struggle with my, that and commas. I always struggle with it. Oh, yay.
Oh yeah.
This is
Actually,
exciting.
can I suggest a really cool VS Code command? I saw
Yes.
you know how to use the command palette. You did like the install code, and a different command you can do from the palette is compare active file. And the third one with ... So you're right now in index compared to solution TS. It'll show you a diff view between the two. And yep, you have no differences. This is a neat VS Code feature I learned about recently.
Oh.
Yeah?
Oh, this is fancy. Oh, this is fun. Anthony said there are 7 primitive types: string, number, big int, Boolean, undefined, symbol, and null. What's big int?
It's like a number, but it can't have anything like 0 point whatever. It's just integers. So it's used for like math primarily.
Okay. Because Python has like, it's not loose. It's like something integer like that, but it's for numbers. Okay, cool. And actually, y'all, I just want to say that I learned about Boolean yesterday while learning Python. So yes, knowing what that was. I heard of it, but never did it. All right. I'm excited about this. I feel like I can make headway on this now. And
Yay.
want to go. Do you have the virtual version of the book, right? Like there's an ebook version?
Yes. O'Reilly's platform has like a native ebook thing, and I want to say you can also get it as an ebook on like Amazon and Goodreads and stuff. Side note, I personally have been trying to do more independent bookstores, and it really pains me that for like mainstream programming books, like your local indie bookstore isn't going to have it. So if anyone knows a way to get it that isn't through like Amazon or equivalent, please let me know. But in the meantime, yes, Amazon, O'Reilly, etc. do have ebook versions.
Okay. Because then I feel like I could do the next one, possibly. I'll struggle through it because show up and hide it in the corner stores. There you
Genius.
go. I
Put
don't
little requests
see,
in.
yeah, I don't see a lot of bookstores that have, as you're saying, like a lot of like technical books. They normally have everything else.
Yeah. I can't blame them. Like the cycle of books is pretty rapid. Like in 2 years, this book will either be out of date or need to have like a second edition. There is already a new TypeScript
Mm.
feature coming out, the satisfies keyword. That's like something I would absolutely put in the book if this book had come out before or
Ooh.
after that feature. So
Okay.
yay, software.
Yay. And I have my homework, and I can't say that I exactly understand TypeScript in the fact of like, what are all the differences, but I at least see some cool features and have some exercises to work through and learn from. So thank you. I appreciate that. That is a big step in the right direction. Oh, we got TypeScript issues.
That's the new satisfies keyword that's going to be in the next version of TypeScript. They just released a beta /
Oh,
release candidate for it. So yay.
nice. Nice. And thank you, Anthony, for posting it. So that way everyone has knows what's going on. And I think I'm good for today. Was there anything else you wanted to cover before we start wrapping up?
No, I feel good about this. We've been on almost exactly 1 hour. I think what I normally do is I'll end with my summary, and then also suggest that you rephrase it in the way that your
Okay.
personal brain works. So my
Okay.
summary of TypeScript is that there are three main things we looked at. We saw that TypeScript files get turned into JavaScript files, which are almost the same. Any like TypeScript specific syntax gets removed, but otherwise they're the same. The second is that TypeScript looks at your code and understands what types the values are supposed to be. So if you say make a variable and then later on assign a different type of value, like number instead of string, TypeScript will yell at you. And that's really useful because if you have a function that took in one parameter and then you refactored it to take in two parameters, TypeScript will yell at you to fix all the places that call it. And then the third thing is that TypeScript has nice dev tooling, things like rename and refactor that it can do for you because it knows the types of all your values in code. Does that all kind of make sense and seem reasonable so far?
Yes, I will say for the first one, I logically get what you're saying about that TypeScript goes to JavaScript and translates. It makes sense, yet isn't completely computing. As like examples in my head, I'm not there. And then for the second one, um, that was the values or being able to rename things.
What was it?
I'm
Third one
sure.
was renaming. Second one was, oh yeah, it'll yell at you if you
Oh,
mismatch.
yes, I like that. That one I thought was a great example of showing how it will yell at you if you mismatch. And then so that actually worked out with the exercise of being able to see where it's going to yell at you and also going to the original one. And then third is the renaming part. And I thought that was really cool. That's just a fun feature that I'm like, cool. If I decide I want to rename all of them at once, I dig it. I dig it. And how we know how people can follow you. We've got those linked, and go get the book linked up above. But how do like all of us help you in your open sourceness?
I appreciate you asking that. Thank you. I'm just typing into the chat the three things because I'm already forgetting what they were in order. So yeah, 1, superset; 2, red squigglification. Shout out again, Ben, who was left for that term. And 3 is dev
Yes.
features, refactoring, such as renames and extracting functions. Cool, yay. Folks can sponsor me on GitHub. I'm github.com/sponsors/Joshua K. Goldberg. You can also sponsor TypeScript ESLint, which some of that goes to me, some of it goes to my fellow open source maintainers. TypeScript ESLint is the tooling that lets you run ESLint, the standard JavaScript linter, on TypeScript code. So TypeScript comes with a lot of really good checks, but it doesn't say let you define a custom rule that yells at you if you use a deprecated API or anything like that. Like that would be what a linter does. Lastly, I'm also on Twitch, and I'm actually streaming in an hour and a half, a little bit less, later today. So I'm Joshua K. Goldberg on Twitch, GitHub, Twitter. You can follow, like, subscribe, whatever, in all of those places.
Do it. Subscribe to all the channels. Subscribe to his channel. Subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to them all. If only we could, right? I would totally dig it. Awesome. And I've already talked to Josh. Try to convince him. Come back again. Teach us all the things. I'm also excited to start working through the book too. So, and yeah, I think that is it. Make sure to thank you for Anthony for putting up his Twitch. I always just figure people would just click on your bubble. I don't know if that's like a thing. If people click on people's bubble to like go see what they're up to.
I don't know. But yeah, thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it. I forgot to.
Yes. Agreed. And yes, so I will see all of you that are going to the Twitter space tomorrow for mental health and neurodiversity in tech. Same time, just tomorrow on Twitter. And last but not least, see you on Thursday. We are going through cool stuff that I don't remember, but I will be back on Thursday. So thank you, everyone. Bye.